The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You turn to me and sing a symphony. I know it turns the night into status quo. I guess you're right. We're burning down the bridge we built. These words, they never burn out. Yeah, I crashed my car for riding. Yeah, I bumped my head.
Good morning. Welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. It is Thursday, the 15th of February, 2024. It is officially Gallant Day, the other day for the other people.
What?
It's Galentine's Day. This is the other day for the other people.
That's a real day?
Yeah, it's a real day.
And what happens on this day?
All the things that couldn't happen yesterday. As we traverse and explore different types of relationships, we say Happy Valentine's Day to everybody that didn't get one yesterday. Good morning, Mr. Nuri.
Good morning this morning. It's always good to see you. Yesterday we was on location.
Yeah.
Yes.
At University of the Bahamas for the second annual blood drive launched and hosted by the Kenise Simonette Darville Foundation. And so I had a wonderful time. It was busy. It was lively. We say thank you to all of the people that came out to support the effort, all of the people that came out to show love. And I tell you why. It's easy to show love to people you love, people you are in love with, people you are in community with. It's a bit harder, but it's kind of easy to show love to people who you don't like.
So many of our listeners coming out. Like they listen to us and say, oh, okay, let me pass by.
Yeah.
I don't know so many people listen to me. Like, yours listen to me.
Yeah.
That's
was
impressive.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was very nice. It was also very, very heartwarming to see people sort of step across political divides, right? To ignore boundaries that exist in their sort of everyday life or in their political life to support someone that's in their regular life, right? Ignored political boundaries and the rules of their political life to support someone who is a part of their real life. And that was heartwarming and encouraging to see. Again, we say thank you to Everybody Wins for supporting the event and providing prizes for the first 50 donors. We say thank you to the medical staff, the healthcare workers that came out to provide the service. Thank you to University of the Bahamas for making the space available. And then, Yuri, I want to say thank you to the foundation and to Guardian for making it work for us, because it was a pleasure to be a part of that event. The song we opened the show with is The End by Foreign Sound, a Bahamian band.
That's not my favorite band. You need to send me a copy of that so I could play.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful song.
It's a nice song.
It's not what we would call Bahamian music, but that's Bahamian music, man.
Is it wrong to say that it doesn't sound Bahamian?
I mean, it is wrong for you to say it doesn't sound Bahamian, because that's not the first Bahamian song or not the first song made by Bahamians to sound like that. It's not the first rap. They're not the first rock and roll group. They're not the first indie group, right? They're not the first sort of grunge indie group. We've had rock bands. I could think of Johnny Christie and Crew. I think of...
As good as that? Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Okay.
The Scallywags. Subculture. We got lots of rock, indie, grunge, soft rock. They call like folk rock. We've got tons of those artists. We even got Andrew Jones and Spirit House in Cat Island, man.
It sounds like we need to have, what do you call that when you have, not a fair, a cultural show. What do you call it?
Like an expo?
that type of music.
We need a festival.
A festival. That's what
we
I
need
did.
a festival.
A rock festival. Bohemian rock festival.
And I got another band I'm trying to get on the show, a rock band, very soon. Here we go. It's M47.
That's Bohemian?
A track that they're about to release. And
This goes to the next group?
I think so.
That next group is good. I mean,
Yeah, man.
I could go and pay a ticket fee to listen to them, especially inside a festival.
Yeah,
function.
like, so from 2 to 4 is going to be rock, indie, folk rock, rake and scrape folk music. And then as the time passes, you transition into other genres till you hit your biggest performers for the night. It can be done.
I could picture a festival though, like a square, people selling food, drinks, whatever it is, artisans, whatever it is, and the music is rock, just rock, Bohemian rock, and then have a highlight, a headliner, maybe some foreign headliner, I guess, just to draw that American crowd so they get exposed to our Bohemian rock stars.
Yeah. We need to create a model for that, though. Like, any foreign artist that comes to perform is invited.
Yeah, invited. I just trying to get the crowd there.
We're going to strongly encourage you to do it, or you may not be able to come. Invite like that. That you have to partner with a local band or a group of local musicians and either remake one of your songs in our style or remake one of our songs in your style.
Yeah.
We got to make it mandatory.
Yes.
And then we could create an album of that.
Yes.
And then we could put that on the global market.
Yes.
All of these things we could do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to say
Minister of Tourism needs to hire you.
good morning.
You need a job?
Remember what
do you say?
we all working for tourism.
For free.
We ain't all getting paychecks.
Yeah.
But we all working for tourism. And say good morning to Gavin and the rest of the M47 crew. Mr. Nuri, 242 Day is coming up.
242 Day is coming up.
On Saturday, February the 24th. This and every 24th of February is 242 Day. That's the 24th day of the second month. Show your Bahamian pride on that day. Fly your Bahamian flags, wear Bahamian flag colors, eat Bahamian foods, create and listen to Bahamian music, donate in sequences of 242, do something 242 times or 24.2 times or 2.42 times. And merchants, consider for that day pricing items at $2.42, $24.20, or $242.
Last year, we had a lot of people who participated.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses did sales.
Yeah.
This would be a big thing. Did we have a hashtag? I remember, thought we had a hashtag. Like you take your picture of what you're doing, 242, and hashtag it.
Right.
I remember that.
We got to speak to the
chief?
the originator of the idea.
The chief.
Because I would say hashtag 242 Day. Right? But it's not my place to
Just-
say.
yeah.
But what would be great is to see the creative mind that's come up with for 242 Day.
Yes.
So let's
We need
remember.
to get into schools, primary schools.
Yeah.
Do 242 things.
Maybe we need to have a special show, a culture show on the Thursday immediately prior and maybe the Friday immediately prior.
Yeah, why not?
But what I like about it is a different way to see the Bahamas, right? Often Bahamians of European descent state that the ways in which we celebrate Bahamianness makes them feel like they're excluded, right? That's an important note to make. It's something that we need to talk about.
Yes, I find it to be a difficult conversation. People get guarded when you start talking about it. That there is a segment of our society who feels left out, and they keep on voicing it, right? And then we chastise them, saying, "No, you just need to participate." And when they do participate, you say, "Oh, you look out of place. You're not supposed to be here."
Some of us do, like at Junkanoo.
Like at Junkanoo.
But then if you use your waking eyes, you realize that you see phenotypically white people of European descent participating in Junkanoo all the time. I want to say good morning to my former neighbor, Mr. Trico, and Rianka, and all of the daughters.
I mean, the brown skin people. See what I did there? Sorry about that.
But they are, in some instances, they are perceived to be white.
Yeah.
Some people would say they are phenotypically white, which means
With a tag.
they could pass, or some people would think they are white, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we have to acknowledge that people of European descent People who look like white people
Anyone with straight
participate
hair.
in Junkanoo.
Anyone with straight hair to me, yeah. Even if you're Indian, you know you white, right? Even though you're Indian, just letting you know, you're in the same.
Right, and there is a space within the discourse where that is valid when you acknowledge that a small group of Europeans created a construct called race to create a hierarchy of privilege. And that small group of Europeans put themselves at the top of the hierarchy of privilege and power and called themselves white. They were whiter than Italian Europeans, right? They were whiter than many groupings of people in Europe at the time. And so they said, look, did y'all know this thing called race exists? And we are at the top of it. And anything that falls below that is considered black. Anything else that falls below that is considered black, right? And so when we approach the discussion of race at that academic level, then that is correct. That's absolutely correct, right? But the way that we look at race and interrogate race, like in the layman's terms of the common man, we wouldn't acknowledge, people don't see that and they don't understand that because they don't necessarily know the origins of race, the construct, and racism, this pernicious oppression. I got a text here that said, that sounds distinctly like grunge music. It is. These guys are great, right? It doesn't even sound like they're trying to copy somebody else, right? It doesn't sound like they're trying to mimic somebody else. And then when you realize, like for instance, let's take a small stroll down pop culture. Beyonce just launched a country album.
Yeah, that caused some waves already.
People are accusing her of cultural appropriation. People are saying...
Even though country music is black, or started from black culture.
Well, this is it. Most people don't know that.
Yeah. It caused a big fiasco when there were people who challenged it. Yeah. And when they go into the history and they realize, oh, your God, yes, your black people, black Americans did start this.
Black Americans started rock with Mother Thorpe. I can't remember her first name.
The one with the guitar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. She's instrumental in sort of laying the foundation for that,
Rock
right?
and roll.
Did you know that ice hockey?
No, I don't know about ice hockey.
Ice hockey was started by black people.
Leave the Canadian people things alone.
Ice hockey was started by black people, sir.
Take that back.
I cannot take it back. I cannot change history. I can only attempt to understand it.
What black people doing on ice?
I mean, first of all, everybody in Canada was on ice, but apparently they were working because perhaps they were enslaved. But they created ice hockey. That's what they was doing on ice.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone line. Good morning, caller. All right, caller, I can't hear you. Do me a favor. Call right back. I hope this isn't a big problem for your phone. I'm sorry. Call right back. So, Mr. Nuri, stories on deck for today.
Yes, ma'am.
North Andros forced to pilot banking as ABM vandalized. That's the automatic banking machine, the ATM, what we call the ATM.
Okay.
Vandalized. North Andros has been left without easy access to cash for an extended period of time after the area's sole automated banking machine was vandalized. I want to stick a pin there. They didn't have easy access to cash before it was vandalized. Okay? Some people in North and Central Andros have to drive hours. Let me say hour.
But you're trying to say the whole island have one ATM?
And Central.
That's basically the whole island. From the top, that's a lot of miles to drive.
Darren Bethel, the North Andros Chamber of Commerce president, while condemning the ignorant actions of those responsible yesterday, suggested the culprits may also have been motivated by frustration, as the Scotiabank ATM had been inoperable for the previous 3 weeks.
Oh, it was never working.
So perhaps, as opposed to calling them vandals, we call them, what you call those people that sort of make things happen?
Protesters?
No, not like that. It's like, there's an official word for it, like you make things happen. That's, maybe they were like, if we break it.
Someone will respond.
And they could see that they will respond and replace it, as opposed to come in here and doing a quick fix that doesn't hold for very long. A facilitator, that's what they are.
Okay.
Maybe they are facilitators. So a quote from Mr. Bethel, sometimes people are just ignorant. I'm assuming somebody went in there frustrated and just vandalized it. He said, pointing out that North Andros businesses and residents had experienced frequent challenges with the ABM over the past 2 years.
Who's the MP for North Andros? How do you allow people not to get paid, not to get access to money? And for 3 weeks.
I want to say Lundy, but I think it's not Lundy. It is somebody else. If you remember the name of the MP for North Andros,
and nothing wrong
text
with a
it.
private company not fulfilling their obligation.
No, there's something very wrong.
Let me make my point. My point is, they say, well, we just can't do it. Surely there should be a member of parliament lobbying, talking about it every day. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it ain't working. Or making some phone calls. By the way, it ain't working. How is it that 3 weeks gone by, knowing that this is the only ATM machine in North and Central Andros, and it wasn't urgent to get fixed?
Lightbourne is the MP, Leonardo Lightbourne.
Who that is? You know how he look?
I got a picture of him here.
Never seen that man in my life.
The question is, have the people of Andros ever seen
I've never seen that
him?
man in my life.
My critique is slightly different. Ministry of Works should have already relocated a unit.
Wait, that's a private company. What unit?
Listen, Ministry of Works should have already relocated a unit of officers to Andros to deal. Do you remember that the North Andros, the BPL station burned down entirely? Mm-hmm. Right? Residents of North and Central Andros complain regularly. And I say complain, when the truth is they're not complaining. They're just noting what it is they're living through. Mm-hmm. Frequent power outages, disruption in communication services, uncertainty to when services will return, issues with water, issues with electricity.
North Andros?
North Andros.
And who's the MP again?
Leonardo Lightbourne. And then I think Lundy is Central Andros.
South and Central.
South and Central Andros, right. And so they should have already had a team down there. See, when Ministry of Works staff can't get their pay, when they can't go to the ATM and get money, it's a real problem. Mm. Something like this should not have been a surprise to anybody, and they should have been working on it, especially when they say that the machine had been inoperable for the past 3 weeks. The chamber chief said it's always on and off and is often damaged because they come in 3 times a week to check it. Sometimes they come in to just pick up the money and do not fix it because they do not have the parts. Mm. This is a private company. Mm-hmm. I could have sworn he was talking about government. It's been giving problems on and off for 2 years, and it's not the first time it's been vandalized, the ATM. The community will have to understand why they didn't have cameras in that place or have the landlord lock the door knowing that the machine was out of operation. I go to a particular bank and the ATMs are in a locked room on the where you access from the outside of the bank, right? Mm-hmm. And the lock on that door was broken for easily 2 years. The card lock was inoperable. Mm-hmm. And then you realize that because the card lock was inoperable, they just left the door unlocked. So you in the ATM, you close the door behind you, you think that it's locked. It's not locked. Anybody could walk in on you. In fact, I've had that happen to me.
At least they have cameras. But how do you have an ATM machine and there's no cameras?
Now, the ATM machine should have a camera built into it. So we have to determine whether this statement is indicating that the camera in the machine itself is inoperable or is always inoperable or doesn't work all the time, or if the location that the ATM is situated in has no cameras.
But if you vandalize the machine itself, it sees you.
But the machine is inoperable, remember? It was out of service. Suggested it didn't have any power. Is the ATM frequently out of power out of service because of frequent power outages and fluctuation in power services? And I ask this because for approximately 30 years, I've experienced damage to appliances and communications services equipment because of unregulated power being distributed through my neighborhood. So I could appreciate it. But what I would like to know is the machine experiencing frequent issues because of a third-party service issue?
But clearly, the word you used before, facilitators. Andros need more facilitators on that island.
To push this issue.
To push the issue. Make everything, touch everything.
Because I wonder if we would, in New Providence, would have been aware of the series of oil leaks in North Andros if somebody hadn't burned down in Thailand. I say somebody, let me rephrase that. Because there's been no official report published exposing no official report on has been published or made public as far as I'm aware. I imagine it will be gazetted at the same time that the public disclosures will be gazetted. But the story gets better. He explained that some business owners have resorted to sending pilots to conduct their banking business in New Providence for a nominal fee. And I don't think this is just due to this recent vandalizing of the machine, because we've heard people talk about this months prior.
I'm just glad to know that pilots have money now. No one told me that before. That's good information. Just saying.
He added, it will go back to what we have been doing. People have been making the sacrifice to travel when they have to do banking. Some business owners send their deposits to Nassau with the pilots in the morning. Sometimes
in the morning, you say?
Sometimes people pick it up from the pilot. Other pilots have been offering that service. One particular pilot will take your ATM card and go to the bank to deposit and withdraw funds and charge them $20. See, Mr. Nuri, if I were a pilot or someone used a pilot, I'd be prepared to sue the bank and the government and the MP and anybody responsible if I were robbed, assaulted, or I lost money.
Especially with the people telling you now that you collect money.
Because we have an archipelagic exterior, but that does not in any way remove a government's obligation to provide equal and equitable access to services.
How do government employees get paid? If the ATM machine was down.
There's a question, when do they get paid? Do they get paid? I mean, because you skip well ahead of the line of questions. So we have a statement from Scotiabank. Scotiabank in a statement condemned the vandalism and said local authorities are investigating the issue. You mean like Andros police? Do they have enough gas in the car to come to the ATM to conduct an investigation?
Especially if you don't have no cameras.
Let me continue to read from the statement. They wish to condemn the recent incident of vandalism that has affected the operation of their ATM located in Nicholstown, Andros. It added, as a result, the machine has been left inoperable and will be unavailable for use by members of the public for an extended period of time. We are presently assessing the extensive damage done with all relevant stakeholders to determine the time frame for service restoration. We are also cooperating with the authorities on an investigation to bring the perpetrators to justice. So, because that sounds like, when the police, it's like a shooting and the police say, we picked up so-and-so and they're assisting with investigations. Are you investigating yourself? Is it not time that we have in-law regulations to govern banking services for the protection of the citizen? Is it not legislated that any location that houses an ATM has to have extra cameras? That's not been legislated yet? It's not been legislated the time period in which customers should have to wait for repairs to be made? And what do you mean when you say, as a result, the machine has been left inoperable? The machine was out of service for 3 weeks before they vandalized it. Scotiabank?
They slick.
And what do you mean it'll be unavailable for use by members of the public for an extended period of time? The public ain't gonna never use that machine again. Because what you're gonna do is you're gonna replace that machine with a new machine. And I'm sure you could afford to do that, because I was under the impression that every 2 staff members you made redundant was for the purpose of purchasing an ATM machine. And so, oh, that's the music, eh?
That's the music.
That's the music. Thank you, producer. We're going to go to a break. Callers, thank you for your patience.
We can transition to
Another story on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned on the clock.
It's that time of year. Time for the Guardian Media Group's annual Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Fair at the Mall at Marathon, Saturday, March 2nd. Starting at 10 a.m., admission is totally free. Games, prizes, samples, and surprises are free. So, bring your mom, bring your dad, bring grandma and the baby, and come and receive free health screening, new product info, and sound financial advice. It's the annual Nassau Guardian Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Fair, happening Saturday, March 2nd at the Mall at Marathon. Join the movement.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
March 8th, 2024 is International Women's Day. Guardian Media wants all Bahamians to truly inspire inclusion. It's not just something we should say or something we should write about. It's something we need to think about, know, and embrace. It's what we should believe in unconditionally. This International Women's Day, Guardian Media wants you and your company to inspire inclusion. Celebrate the women in your organization, listing them in an ad in our International Women's Day supplement. For more information, call 302-2300 or contact your account executive. The aim of the International Women's Day 2024 campaign is to collectively forge a more inclusive world for women. International Women's Day, March 8th, 2024. Inspire inclusion.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. You're on the clock and we're moving quickly through the hour. Here's a text in response to our conversation. That's like driving to Clifton, forgetting your ATM card, running back to Winton to get the card, sucking your teeth while you didn't drive, then running back. Listen, and then imagine you get halfway there. Realize you don't have your ATM card. Drive back home. Get in your car, drive all the way to the ATM to find out that it wasn't down. It wasn't working. But it gets better.
Go ahead.
Because I know somebody in Andres who he prepared for all of this. So he calls ahead to find out. He calls people to find out, is the ATM working? Is the ATM working? And he makes an hour-plus drive to the ATM and buys out of money or it's not working again.
Oh, Lord.
And the same thing happens with gas, apparently, in many parts of Andres. You call to find out if it's worth making the drive to go and get gas, and you're told, yes, we have gas, come make the drive. And then by the time you get there, one of two things happens. Either they're out of gas, because everybody got the call that there's gas, or the power's off, so they can't pump the gas anyway.
I could confess that I closed my entire bank account because their ATM machine wasn't working. Constantly. Every week I go there, it's not working. I said, man, I don't need to be in this bank.
I could confess it wasn't until I got into festivals that I got a bank account because I don't like being harassed by people I'm paying for a service. And I don't understand why I'm paying people more for the bare service they're giving me than I'm paying more than the actual service they're giving me. I mean, I just don't understand it. How you're going to tell me that I have to pay you to look at my money and you making money on my money. I just don't understand what adults in this place are thinking. Or maybe it is that their lives are so overwhelmed that they can't think at all. Somebody said, are they facilitators or are they stimulators? Another text, great show as usual, Miss Greene. I hope you ain't them people who go in the ATM and then decide how much money they want to take out. Dear sir, I do not want you to be throwing shade at those of us who are near economic crisis. Several things are happening. First of all, you may be waiting for money from government. You don't know if it could be there, even if the people tell you it could be there.
So you got to check the balance first then.
Right, you have to check to see if the money came. You may be trying to transfer money from one customer in the same bank to your bank account. The money may not have posted. Or you may have been trying to post money from somebody who have an account and they're based in the family island, and you have to wait 3 extra days because one working day in Bahamian time means 3 Bahamian working days. 3 days you got to take off work to see if your money hit the bank. I want to read another story, and I want to link it to this story. I want to read this story, not worth pursuing $700 million in unpaid PMH fees. The reason I want to read this story right now is because Dr. Sands uses the term medical apartheid. Forget the $700 million in unpaid fees just for a second. Not like the government is obviously preparing to do. But for a second, Dr. Dwayne Sands, who held the post during let's start at the beginning. An quote, "It's not worth committing resources to collect legally mandated user fees from Princess Margaret Hospital patients, given that $700 million plus remains unpaid."
My Lord.
Dr. Dwayne Sands, who held the post during the Minutes administration's early years, told Tribune Business that the country's public health care system is failing because treatment outcomes are, quote, suboptimal, close quotes, for too many Bahamians, while taxpayers are, quote, not getting value for money, close quotes, reiterating his belief that the Bahamas is practicing, quote, medical apartheid, close quotes, because care quality and outcomes in public health care are inferior to those enjoyed in the private sector. He argued that while there are multiple ways to produce the necessary improvements, this requires, quote, alignment of the moon, sun, and stars, and I don't see it happening. Stick a pin. Dr. Sands.
Sound very doomish.
What a poetic way to retire from politics.
Yeah, you're talking foolishness.
I have never seen such a wonderful piece of prose. The necessary improvements require alignment of the moon, sun, and stars, and I don't see it happening. I also don't see y'all taking Obeah off the books.
Something wrong with that narrative.
I also don't see y'all making public disclosures in the next 5 years.
No.
The Public Hospital Authority have had the ability to levy fees for a variety of tertiary care services. They have elected not to enforce this, even on persons with insurance or the capacity to pay. So here's my question, though. In this Christian nation, why is it that people who have the capacity to pay are not paying?
He is indicating that it's us, but clearly it's not us.
Oh, it can't be me. I don't have the capacity to pay. I don't have the capacity to die. I'm not going to die. I'm going to wither into dust and be blown into a cascarilla tree, bush. I can't afford to die. They have elected not to enforce this even on persons with insurance or the capacity to pay. First of all, you're not enforcing it on people with insurance. You're enforcing it on insurance companies. The International Monetary Fund, in its recent Article 4 report, said reversing this policy and levying fees on those who can pay could save taxpayers over $100 million in subsidies annually. We get to the rest of this story. Here we go. When you look at the historic generation of fees, we have done a horrible job. Producer, let's go to that call. We have done a horrible job of collecting fees, gazetted fees, in the public healthcare sector for many decades, Dr. Sands told this newspaper. When I last looked at it, the figure was in excess of $700 million owed. Good morning, caller.
Oh, good morning, Miss Greene. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you today?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
One of the things that we who dive and study theology is the fact that historically, rugged capitalism was never meant for the lowest in our midst.
Yes, sir.
It's styled to exploit them And to you in rugged capitalism, you always must have the majority of people who are poor and just pay taxes. Those who now feel that they're being excluded, even from John Canoe, must remember that there was a group who was excluded for 300 years.
Yes, sir.
As sad as that is, you know, that's how they structured it, that somebody got to be excluded. So we need to try to so live and so have a kind disposition to others so that we really whom capitalism, rugged capitalism, leaves out.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note we must acknowledge these things so that we can move forward and live the way that you suggest.
And the thing about it is that we don't acknowledge it, we hate it, we don't like to look at our history to see that unless we acknowledge it, the slavery was criminal, colonialism was criminal, minority rule was criminal, and some people who are rich in our country today are rich because their past, their ancestors did crime against the society. Until we face those realities, we are going to be something else.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Blessings.
God bless you too. Thank you very much, sir. That was Reverend Simeon Hall. Mm-hmm. And I welcome that interrogation in the midst of the Lenten season, right? It requires us to be honest. We have to be honest. We have to be honest and acknowledge from whence we came.
I think we have another caller there.
Yeah, that's good.
Good morning, Ms. Greene.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Nui.
Morning to you.
Ms. Greene, for years, I would be having conversations with Dr. Archer, and I would mention to you sometimes the affordability of healthcare and the three incremental steps in providing healthcare. And so we know that the initial one is prevention, right? Prevention.
Yes.
So what are we doing to prevent people from being from inundating the hospital with sick people? We are not doing anything because we can look at the food programs in the school and we can just look at our diets. Okay? So then the question becomes, I'm just referring to the statement made by Dr. Sands.
Yes.
Of course we have medical apartheid. We saw that with Henrietta Lacks, or whatever her name was, right?
Yes.
But and the exploitation of the blood donation drive in the States, et cetera, where they break just go and read the business of blood donation, how they breach the laws over there. Now, as it relates to medical apartheid and injustices as far as medical services, right? We are being kidnapped because we look at, you see Michael Road recently and all these other places where you become inundated with private medical services, right? So it's still, I like how Dr. Sands mentioned it, but it highlights the fact that the doctors themselves, and you mentioned it a couple of days ago, they're exploiting the system. Number one, like I said, you know, I'm not looking for likes. Dislikes can go into nothing, okay? We have a hospital that doesn't have an MRI machine. They hold the people at hospital, so you have to go right somewhere, all about diagnostics.
One second, 52. The PMH still doesn't have an...
No, man. They have a CAT scan.
They built the whole critical care wing, put executive and administrative staff in it, then talked about how they don't have the technicians and da-da-da-da to fix them, and they still don't have an MRI machine?
No, they don't. They have a CAT scan and ultrasound, but those are effective, but the thing is they stay down. Now, people don't mind paying for them, and I agree with Dr. Sands as far as collecting the money. Some people should make some efforts, but I like how he highlighted the fact that some people who have the capacity to pay are not paying. But what I'm saying is, as a text a few days ago, very intelligent, she said that, you know, there's investors, et cetera, in the government, et cetera, have not cohorted with people to try to get, like public-private partnership, as they was talking about this with the hospital from when? A couple of years ago now, public-private partnership. But healthcare don't exist if you're not discussing the affordability of healthcare. So what I'm saying is, let's say a prostate biopsy that I've had a prostate biopsy about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's very painful, it's invasive. I don't want to do it again. It's very painful. I don't even want to describe it. So what I'm saying is, an MRI would avoid me doing that. So it's cheaper for me to hop on a plane, go to Miami, go on 27th Avenue, get an MRI for $375, okay? And come back and have some fun in wherever, right? Mm-hmm. Now, people don't want to hear from people like me, and they definitely don't like to hear from people like you. And People call and say, well, I like to criticize, but I don't critique you, Miss Greene, because you have a beautiful mind. And I don't get into your personal lifestyle, okay?
Yes,
but I
sir.
appreciate you on the airways because I can identify with everything you're saying.
Yes,
So,
sir.
and I've seen you before. I've seen you. I know you. I see you. And years ago, I saw you. My mother was a horticulturist by opposite the garden there in by Queen's College.
Oh, yes,
she was
yes,
out on the show,
yes,
and you looked at me, but you didn't notice me. You saw I was moving with a frail lady. She had cancer at the time.
Yes.
And my mom always told me that, I can't take the kind of suffering and amount of surgeries that she went on. So I know what it is to be financially exhausted. So given the fact that the government has implemented VAT, and given the fact that Latino is of a alternative lifestyle, but I listen to Latino and I conversate with Latino. It doesn't matter to me, but Latino on an eye-opener show that was a rebroadcast, Latino gave the income from VAT. It was 1 point something billion. I can't remember. But given the fact that the government is collecting this revenue that it never was, and still the healthcare system is in the state it's in today, then this sends a clear message to all the fools who run around with PLP and FNM that the government doesn't care about you. Because at the end of the day, like you said, we will all sit down in Princess Margaret, and Princess should be mad anyhow for in a hospital like that in her name. And we still all have to end up there. And you pass and you see people, you see the ineffectiveness, and then the nurses and doctors, they're doing their best, and they're struggling, but the government is not juxtaposing and working with these people in order to make people comfortable. So we have to face the facts that these people just don't care about us because the healthcare system has been allowed to dilapidate for so long until, like doctors say, I kind of want to accept that. What I'm saying is no MRI. The reason for the MRI would be to diagnose, and then by doing that, you will have a lesser time of hospitalization, and you will also be catching diseases in their tracks because they now have juxtaposed the algorithms or the AI with MRI so that the AI will be able to identify diseases quicker than a doctor. Okay?
Yes, sir.
As simple as my mom went to the States with cancer. They said it had disappeared, and she came back here, and Dr. Downs at Doctor's Hospital found out that it wasn't so. So I don't put trust in anywhere I go, but I put trust in the God, and we pray for God to guide the doctors to be with us. I can't put trust in no man, because my Grammy always used to tell me the arms or flesh will fail you. She didn't say the arm, plural, arms. So everyone can fail us, and that's what they're doing now. Some people, and I appreciate Dr. Simeon all, because what he's done is, the narrative of the poor will always be us, with us, but you have a lot of people in the oligarchical structure will ensure that the poor is always among us. And you can see it from the way they exploit the world. Give thanks.
Thank you, 52. Thank you very much. And thank you for sharing, again, another personal experience so people can better relate to what it is that you're saying. These two stories I needed to put on record today, Mr. Nuri. I think the entire nation needs to hear evidence, and any foreigner that comes to the Bahamas and then becomes aware that the political class is prepared to privilege that foreigner over a Bahamian, any foreigner that comes here and accepts that needs to question why they are here and what it is that they are truly seeking here. Because if they are seeking to be a part of the Bahamas, then they must decide which part they're going to join. A text here says, only the number houses and union credit unions are keeping people alive on the family islands. It is so wrong. And the text goes on to say, I mean the out islands, because they need to stop calling it the family islands and treating us this way. I would say that it's a snapshot into culture, evolving culture of the Bahamas. Here's another quote from this article as we go to the phone line. Dr. Dwayne Sands, what attains in the private sector allows people to get good quality care, and people in the public sector find that they are paying through the nose with their taxes, hundreds of millions of dollars, and the outcomes are drastically different. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Erin. Morning, Mr. Reed.
Morning, sir.
Morning. I read in one of the daily yesterday where we had to pay another Cuban migrant almost $400,000 for holding them unlawfully.
Yes, I have the article right in front of me.
Right. You don't take a stand with government, maybe send someone from the prison to do a course on human inventory, specializing in unlawful detaining and also who's lawful. Because, every year you have to keep spending money, our taxpayer money, for them holding someone unlawfully. It doesn't make no sense. and they're doing the same thing over and over. It's our tax money.
Yes.
So obviously, they need to send someone to court or find someone to manage the prison who can do an inventory.
Perhaps
because every year, why
yes,
are they
sir.
still getting their bonus?
Yes, sir.
Or their gratuity if they can't manage the prison properly?
Well, maybe
doesn't make any sense.
we need to maybe we need to amend legislation to attach the penalty directly to individuals and not to government agencies, so that the minister responsible, the superintendent responsible, the sergeant, right, the junior officer responsible, and maybe we need to attach jail.
Yes, someone needs to be held accountable.
Let me read the.
I still want to know whose budget it comes out of. Does it come out of the police's budget or it comes out of the national budget?
Does it come out of the consolidated fund? Does it come out of the police's budget directly?
Because the police have all kind of money.
Does it come out of the Police Staff Association fund? Let's go. The headline is titled Extra Payout Over Unlawful Detention. Court orders $396,000 settlement for Cuban held without charge. The damages awarded to a Cuban-born male who was falsely and unlawfully detained at the Carmichael Road Detention Center have increased by $148,000 after the Court of Appeal reviewed his case. Ramon Lop will now receive $396,000. Immigration officers in Grand Bahama arrested him sometime in early May 2009 on suspicion that he tried to take part in human smuggling. Then Supreme Court Justice Indra Charles found that he was eventually detained at the detention center unlawfully for 8 months. He was never charged nor taken to the magistrate as required by the Immigration Act, according to a Court of Appeal ruling released this week. He was released into the Bahamian community and subsequently charged and convicted in 2010 of shopbreaking and stealing. After serving time for these offenses and another 1-month sentence in 2014 for vagrancy, he was handed over to immigration authorities and detained for 2 years and 9 months.
My God.
Once again, he was not charged with a criminal offense. He was released after a successful habeas corpus application in the Supreme Court. He sued the government for assault, battery, arbitrary and unlawful detention, false imprisonment, and breaches of various constitutional rights. The government argued that Mr. Lop's arrest and detention were lawful. Quote, they asserted that every effort had been made to return him to either Cuba or to the U.S., but that both countries had declined to accept him, close quote, the Court of Appeal noted. Nonetheless, the trial judge found the government liable for unlawfully imprisoning him and for breaching his constitutional right to not be arbitrarily detained. However, the judge found that his constitutional claim for the first detention was statute barred and awarded him no compensation or redress for that period. In increasing the man's award, the Court of Appeal said the Limitation Act does not limit an aggrieved person's ability to seek redress after breaches of their fundamental rights and freedoms. The Court of Appeal also established Mr. Lop's prejudgment interest on his award at 2.4% from September 29, 2017, when the writ of summons was filed. The post-judgment interest rate is 6.25% from the date of the judgment.
But it can't be just the money. Someone needs to lose their job, or and not even say lose their job, be held accountable in terms to give an explanation, to face the Bahamian people and say, this is what we did wrong and this is what we're going to correct. Because this happens too frequently, man.
Without any actual investigation. I say maybe the Minister of National Security could resign. But
which one? Because, he was in there.
This one resigns because he's there now and government is continuous. And then the last one is barred from participating in politics. All of the ministers of national security that held the post while this case was going on, while this man is being detained, the current one is resigned, and the rest can no longer participate in governance.
We have another caller here.
Good morning, caller.
How are you all doing this morning?
Good, thank you, sir.
Do you realize the amount of money you just called off could buy an MRI machine to go in the hospital?
Yep.
And they here could pay these people out all this money and wouldn't fix the hospital up and buy the medicines and the things that are needed in the hospital. But anytime somebody sues the government, look how much money they pay Shane Gibson the other day.
We don't know. Is that...
Look, now, the fellow who's in the Waterworks Department, by the time that his case finished, he is going to be found not guilty. And then he's
Let's
going
not
to
speak
sue
to
the
that. Don't watch nothing. We're not going to speak to that. Don't say that. Don't. But I absolutely and totally appreciate the point that you are making, caller. We still don't know how much the
No, we know
company was fined for the oil spill.
Oh, the company. No, we still don't know. No, we didn't know who could even clean it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still don't know what Kenneth Dorset. Who else would get money? The
Smith?
commission. Smith got money. The commissioner of police got money, and we just don't know how much the amount of money is.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm concerned that they're lobbying, putting trying to create a bill that the monies that derive from Ministry of Tourism that can go and buy an MRI.
It's going to go back to tourism to pay people to manage.
See, something is wrong with that.
To manage the corporation that manages the Tourism Development Fund.
And nobody's doing an outcry saying, no, I need an MRI machine.
I crying outside. I crying.
Yeah.
It is deplorable, and it ranks of dereliction of duty. Both those in government and the political class that prop them up with no substantive evidence to warrant the reverence.
You have 2 minutes there, Erin. Go ahead.
Let's get to the text line. Good morning, Miss Greene. Ask Dr. Sands why he didn't fix the problem at PMH. This is, maybe you missed I was trying to be as poetic as he was when he said that, and I will repeat the entire sentence, reiterating his belief that the Bahamas is practiced because care, quality, and outcomes in public health care are inferior to those enjoyed in the private sector. He argued that while there are multiple ways to produce the necessary improvements this requires, quote, alignment of the moon, sun, and stars, and I don't see it happening, close quotes. We need to do something, and we need to do it right now. We are all out of time, Mr. Nuri. It's just two things I want to say. Dear listening audience, after reading this story, and I urge you to pick it up, go online, find it, not worth pursuing after 700 million unpaid PMH fees. Y'all please stop running the stop signs outside the doctor's hospital from Collins Avenue and Shirley Street, and the stop sign from Sands Road to Elizabeth Avenue, directly opposite accident and emergency. How do you find it in your heart to engage in such reckless and risky behavior that threatens other people's lives when you know clearly the status of the healthcare system in the Bahamas? It's Lent. What are you giving up for Lent? Let's think about it. Mr. Nuri, thank you for joining me in this hour. Guardian Radio AM and CA Nuri is up next. You guys have a great day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.